everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my weekly wrap-up of July 12th, 2015, wherein I tell you about all the exciting things that I finished reading this past week. Hope you guys are having a good week and a good weekend. I have been enjoying myself despite how oppressively hot it is today. I went to a wine tasting yesterday. That was an interesting experience. I think I got tipsy for the first time in my life, which is not something I actually recommend doing, but as life experiences go, that one's checked off. The first book that I finished this week was The People in the Trees by Hanya Yanagihara. I buddy read this with Ottavio from the Galilean Library. I'm going to say right now, go watch his review if you want to know more about this book. He did a fantastic review that said all the things about this book that I wanted to say, but he can say it better than I can, and I'm not going to top that in any way. So if you want a much better explanation of the plot and the high points of this book, go watch his review. I will link it for you. Essentially, this is a fictional memoir of a scientist named Norton Perina, who in the 1950s went on his first scientific anthropological expedition to an island nation called Oivu to seek out a lost tribe on the island of Ivu Ivu. And he goes with an anthropologist named Talent, and while there, Perina discovers a source of immortality. However, that immortality has a really bad consequence or drawback to it. This discovery launches his scientific career. He eventually gets a Nobel Prize, and in his middle life and his later life, he adopts a large number of children from Oivu as that culture, that those people are kind of destroyed by Western civilization. And then in his 70s, he is accused by one of his children of sexual molestation. He is convicted and he goes to prison. And while in prison, he writes this memoir to kind of explain his side of things, his how he got to where he is. And you kind of are like expecting him to defend himself against the charges. It doesn't quite go the way I was expecting it to go. Let's just say that. This is not a book to read if you enjoy likable characters. The main character, Norton Perina, is a pretty despicable person, and you're not going to like him. He is the epitome of the unlikable character. The memoir is also edited by Perina's former lab assistant, who he tells you right up front that he is going to remove certain things from the text as he's editing this memoir, and he also inserts these footnotes that are supposed to elucidate certain points, give you some factual background information, but they also skew the text. They are kind of sycophantic. These two guys put this spin on everything. And this is why I liked the book. Even though these two characters are truly unlikable and I was raging against them and I hated their personalities and I hated what they were doing, it was really fun to dig into the text and try to figure out what they weren't saying or how they were construing something in a different light from what maybe other characters would. They present all things and events and people with this massive bias, and you're trying to figure out, like, are they lying? What is true? What isn't? What is massively skewed to get at the heart of the story? And the way that it unfolds and the ending, the postscript of this book, my jaw was on the floor. And I think Ottavio agrees with me. It was the progression of this story and how subtly and skillfully Yanagihara brings this all to a conclusion. I didn't see that coming, and I was so happy about the writing in this book. It was pulled off excellently, and I would recommend it for that alone, but with the big caveat, if you cannot stand unlikable characters, maybe skip this one. But as somebody who really wants to empathize and sympathize with characters, even I managed to enjoy this book. The second thing that I finished this week was Falling in Love with Hominids by Neal. This is a collection of short stories that she wrote over about 10 years, and I received a free arc of this through NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. I have written a review, which I will link down below if you want to read that, but also I talked more about this when I was filming my wrap-up, so I've split that off into a separate video to give myself more time to talk about one of the stories in the collection I actually did like. I'm going to get it out there. I thought this was a really uneven collection. I did not like most of the stories in it, but there were a couple that I did enjoy that really got me thinking, that made me go, that was interesting, enough so that I did end up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. The third book that I finished this week was Marque and Reprisal by Elizabeth Moon. It's the second book in the Vatta's War series. I reviewed the first book, Trading in Danger, last week, and one of the things I really talked about last week was how much I liked the family dynamics with the main character Kai and her family, who are the Vatta family, and I really wanted to see a lot of that interaction with Kai and her family, and it's kind of a tight-knit family that runs a business. I really liked that. In the second book, you learn why this series is called Vatta's War. It is the Vatta family coming under attack and then going to war, basically. That's, you know, the first book was a lot of setup with the character of Kai and putting her in a certain position and showing you what she can do with her military training background from Space Force. And then in the second book, disaster happens and Kai is the perfect person to be yanked in and take charge of things. This was a really intense, high energy book. I did not want to put it down. I loved it immensely and I gave it 5 stars. The final 2 books that I read were quite short. They're the last 2 books in my 7th Cadfael omnibus from the Brother Cadfael mystery series. The first one was Brother Cadfael's Penance, which is the last novel and the last story chronologically, and I can't tell you really what it's about. I think that would be spoilers for previous stuff in the series, but it's the last book. Cadfael leaves the Abbey to search for a person who is very dear to him, who has been caught up in the fight between King Stephen and Empress Maud, and he is told by Abbot Rodolphus that if he goes any further than this meeting in Gloucester? I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm so sorry. Educate me in comments. There's a meeting in Gloucester. He gets to go there with Hugh Beringer, and he's told by Abbot Rodolphus that if he doesn't come straight back, if he continues on past that meeting, he doesn't really have permission to do that. He could be in danger of breaking his vows, and will he do that or not? I cried at the end of this book because that thing at the end about the question, can you go home again after the big adventure, when things have changed, you have chosen between one responsibility and the other, and when you're done with that, can you go home? Will you be accepted back? Yeah, it was a really difficult position to see Brother Cadfael in after 20 books where he's been in the monastery, in the abbey at Shrewsbury, and also it was the end of the series, and it just hit me. There are no more Brother Cadfael novels. I have to start rereading them or watch the TV episodes again. So it was a really good ending. And since I thought that some of the later books in the series were weaker, it was nice to see. I really felt like Ellis Peters rallied for the last book here. And the final book in this collection is a rare Benedictine. It's actually a collection of 3 stories. One of them is a prequel story that shows you how Brother Cadfael chose to enter the Abbey and take his vows. And the other 2 are really short mystery stories. So I liked it a lot. I gave that collection 4 stars. It was a reread for me, but I didn't remember any of the stories. That's interesting. They didn't really stick in my mind before, but I liked it a lot. The prequel story was very interesting to see Brother Cadfael before he was a monk, before he was Brother Cadfael, when he was still kind of soldierly, and what would inspire him to take vows. And the other 2 stories were quite good. I mean, they were very compact mystery stories, and I thought they were quite interesting. I love Brother Cadfael. I highly recommend this if you are looking for a cozy historical mystery series. If you haven't already tried reading it, and it sounds good, read it. Brother Cadfael is one of my favorite characters of all time. That is everything that I read this past week. Everything was really good, except I still remain conflicted about that collection by Hopkinson. I don't know what to think about that. It's really bothering me for some reason. Anyway, I'm currently reading 3 things. I'm reading Tongues of Serpents by Naomi Novik. This is the 6th book in the Temeraire series, and I'll tell you more about it once I've finished it, but it's boring, and it has no good excuse to be boring. It should be a really exciting book, and it's one of the most boring books I've read all year. At Kindle, I am reading Engaging the Enemy by Elizabeth Moon. It's the 3rd book in the Vatta's War series, and per usual, I'm really enjoying it. And my big book for the month of July is this monster. It is Reamde by Neal Stephenson. It is 1,044 pages long, and I'm on page 105, so you can tell I have a long way to go. I also have a couple of books I need to read this week I haven't started yet. Kate Mulgrew's memoir, Born with Teeth. I have to read that this week because it's due, and a whole bunch of people have it on hold at the library. And the same story with Day Shift by Charlaine Harris, which is the second book in her new series. And I can tell you at some other point how I feel about Charlaine Harris. I might have a slight rant about Charlaine Harris, but I will read this book and tell you what I think about it. So that is it for me this week. Let me know what you guys are up to, and I will talk to you again in my next video. Bye!